Welcome back to the social science class, geography, chapter number 4, agriculture. Today we will continue with the second part of the chapter, food crops other than grains. In this, we will study about some of the important crops, that is sugarcane, oilseeds, tea, coffee, and horticulture crops. Sugarcane. Sugarcane is a tropical as well as subtropical crop. It grows well in hot and humid climate with a temperature of 21 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius and an annual rainfall between 75 centimeter and 100 centimeter. Irrigation is required in the regions of low rainfall. It can be grown on a variety of soils and needs manual labor from sowing to harvesting. India is the second largest producer of sugarcane only after Brazil. It is the main source of sugar, jaggery, kansari, and molasses. The major sugarcane producing states in India are Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar, Punjab, and Haryana. The next crop is tea. Tea cultivation is an example of plantation agriculture. It is also an important beverage crop introduced in India initially by the Britishers. Today, most of the tea plantations are owned by Indians. The tea plant grows well in tropical and subtropical climates endowed with a deep and fertile, well-drained soil rich in humus and organic matter. Tea bushes require warm and moist frost-free climate all through the year. Frequent showers evenly distributed over the year ensure continuous growth of tender leaves. Tea is a labor-intensive industry and it requires abundant, cheap and skilled labor. Tea is processed within the tea gardens to restore its freshness, and major tea producing states in India are Assam, hills of Darjeeling and Jalpaiguri districts, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Apart from these, some other states have the tea plantation like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Meghalaya, Andhra Pradesh, Tripura. In 2008, India was the third largest producer of tea after China and Turkey. Oilseeds. India was the second largest producer of groundnut in the world after China, according to the 2008 report. In rapeseed production, India was third largest producer in the world after Canada and China in 2008. Different oilseeds are grown, covering approximately 12% of the total cropped area of the country. Main oilseed produced in India are groundnut, mustard, coconut, sesame, that is the til, soya bean, castor seeds, cotton seeds, linseed, and sunflower. Most of these are edible and used as cooking mediums. However, some of these are also used as raw material in the production of soap, cosmetics, and ointments. Groundnut. The oilseed groundnut is a kharif crop and accounts for about half of the major oilseeds produced in the country. Gujarat was the largest producer of groundnut, followed by Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu in 2011-12. Linseed and mustard are the rabi crops. Sesame is a kharif crop in north and rabi crop in south India. Castor seed is grown both as rabi and kharif crop. Next crop is coffee. In 2008, India produced 3.2% of the world coffee production. Indian coffee is known as in the world for its good quality. The Arabica variety, initially brought from Yemen, is produced in the country. this variety is in great demand all over the world. Initially, its cultivation was introduced on the Baba Budin Hills, and even today its cultivation is confined to the Nilgiri in Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Horticulture crops. India is a producer of tropical as well as temperate fruits. Mangoes of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal, oranges of Nagpur and Cherrapunji, bananas of Kerala, Mizoram, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu, lychee and guava of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, pineapples of Meghalaya, grapes of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra, apples, pears, apricots, and walnuts of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh are in great demand the world over. India produces about 13% of the world's vegetables. It is an important producer of pea, cauliflower, onion, cabbage, tomato, brinjal, and potato. Non-food crops. In the non-food crops, we will study about the rubber and the fiber crops. Fiber crops consist of cotton, jute, hemp, and natural silk, in which in detail we will study about the two fiber crops, that is cotton and jute. So let us start with the rubber. Rubber is an equatorial crop but under special conditions. It is also known as tropical and subtropical area. It requires moist and humid climate with rainfall of more than 200 centimeter and temperature above 25 degrees Celsius. Rubber is an important industrial raw material. It is mainly grown in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Garo Hills of Meghalaya. In 2010-11, India ranked 4th among the world's natural rubber producers. Fiber crops. Cotton, jute, hemp, and natural silk are the four major fiber crops grown in India. The first three are derived from the crops grown in soil. The latter is obtained from the cocoons of the silkworms fed on green leaves, especially mulberry. Rearing of silkworms are for the production of silk fiber is known as sericulture. Cotton. India is believed to be the original home of the cotton plant. Cotton is one of the main raw materials for cotton textile industry. In 2008, India was the second largest producer of cotton after China. Cotton grows well in drier parts of the black cotton soil of the Deccan Plateau. It requires high temperature, light rainfall, 210 frost-free days, and bright sunshine for its growth. It is a kharif crop and requires 6 to 8 months to mature. Major cotton producing states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. Jute. Jute is also known as golden fiber. Jute grows well on well-drained fertile soils in the floodplains where soils are renewed every year. High temperature is required during the time of growth. West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Odisha, and Meghalaya are the major jute producing states. It is used in making gunny bags, mats, ropes, yarn, carpets, and other artifacts. Due to its high cost, it is losing market to synthetic fibers and packing material, particularly the nylon. Our next topic is technological and institutional reforms introduced by the government for the betterment of agriculture. It was mentioned in the previous page that the agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years. Sustained uses of land without compatible institutional changes have hindered the pace of agricultural development. In spite of development of sources of irrigation, most of the farmers in large parts of the country still depend upon monsoon and natural fertility in order to carry on their agriculture. For a growing population, this poses a serious challenge. So, agriculture, which provides livelihood for more than 60% of its population, needs some serious technological institutional reforms. Thus, many steps were taken by the government. After independence, major institutional reforms such as collectivization, consolidation of holding corporations, and abolition of zamindari, etc., were given priority. In 1960s and 1970s, technical reforms such as Green Revolution and White Revolution also introduced to improve the condition of agriculture. In 1980s and 1990s, various provisions for crop insurance, establishment of Grameen banks, cooperative societies, and banks for providing loan facilities to the farmers at lower rates of interest was introduced. Kisan Credit Card, that is a KCC, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme are some other schemes introduced by the Government of India for the benefit of the farmers. Special weather bulletins and agricultural programs for farmers were introduced on the radio and television. Minimum support price, remunerative and procurement prices for important crops to check the exploitation of farmers by speculators and middlemen was also introduced. In the agriculture, various movements also occurred. Those important movements were like Bhudan and Gramdan. Mahatma Gandhi declared Vinoba Bhave as his spiritual hire. He also participated in the Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. He was one of the votaries of Gandhiji's concept of Gram Swarajya. After Gandhiji's martyrdom, Vinoba Bhave undertook Padayatra to spread Gandhiji's message covered almost the entire country. Once, when he was delivering a lecture at Pachamalli in Andhra Pradesh, some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well-being. Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately, but assured them to talk to the government of India regarding provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. Suddenly, Sri Ramachandra Reddy stood up and offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless villagers. This act was known as Bhudan. Later, he traveled and introduced his ideas widely all over India. Some zamindars, owners of many villages, offered to distribute some villages among the landless. It was known as Gram Dan. However, many landowners chose to provide some parts of their land to the landless laborers or the poor farmers due to the fear of land ceiling act. This Bhudan and Gramdan movement, initiated by Vinoba Bhave, is also known as bloodless revolution. Our next topic is contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Means how much the agriculture has contributed in the economy of the country. Agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy, though its share in the gross domestic product GDP was registered a declining trend from 1951 onward. In 2010 and 11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector, which makes more than half of the Indian population dependent on agriculture for sustenance. The declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to a decline in other spheres of the economy, having wider implications for society. Considering the importance of agriculture in India, the government took steps. The government of India made concerted efforts to modernize agriculture. So the government established ICAR, that is Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Agricultural universities were established, veterinary services were provided, and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast, etc., were given priority for improving Indian agriculture. Apart from this, improving the rural infrastructure was also considered essential for the development of the agriculture. Today, Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition, and our government is going ahead with reduction in the public investment in agriculture sector, particularly in irrigation, power, rural roads, market and mechanism. Subsidy on fertilizers is decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. Moreover, reduction in import duties on agricultural products have proved detrimental to agriculture in the country. Our last topic of the chapter is the impact of globalization on agriculture. Globalization is not a new phenomenon. It was there at the time of colonization. In the 19th century, when European traders came to India, at that time too, Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world, and farmers of the South India were encouraged to grow these crops. Till today, it is one of the important items of the export from India. After 1990s, the farmers in India have been exposed to the new challenges under the globalization. The agricultural products of India are not able to compete with the developed countries because of the highly subsidized agriculture in those countries. So these first 2 points you can make as an demerits of the globalization on the Indian agriculture. Rest you can make it as in merits or the positive effects of the globalization on agriculture. Like it is genetic engineering, introduction of the genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is revolutionizing the agricultural production nowadays. Some benefits of the genetic engineering in agriculture are increased crop yields, reduced cost for food or drug production, reduced need for pesticides, enhanced nutrient composition and food quality, resistance to pests and diseases, greater food security, and medical benefits to the world's growing population. Genetic engineering is recognized as a powerful supplement in investing new hybrid varieties of seeds. Introduction of the organic farming. Organic farming is also in fashion these days because it is practiced without factory-made chemicals such as the fertilizers and pesticides. Hence, it does not affect the environment in a negative. Next way of the globalization, we can say the cropping pattern. Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to the high value crops which increase incomes and reduce environmental degradation simultaneously. So here we can wind up with this chapter, agriculture. Map content of this chapter will be given to you later on. Thank you.